Farmer accidentally unearths an ancient artifact with a cursed history. Every so often you read a story about somebody accidentally stumbling upon a historic artifact stuffed in their attic or buried in their backyard. Sure, it seems like the premise of a fairy tale, but these things do occasionally happen. In 1785, while one farmer was plowing his field in Hampshire, England, he suddenly heard a strange noise. After a brief investigation, he laid his eyes on a gold ring that he'd accidentally run over with his plow. What he didn't know at the time was that he'd actually uncovered an artifact that would eventually inspire some of the greatest stories ever told. Life is strange sometimes. One minute you're just plowing your field and the next you're finding an ancient artifact on your own property. So it goes, right? At least that's how it happened for one farmer back in 1785. While working on his field, the farmer suddenly heard an odd noise, as if he'd run over something hard. Concerned, he decided to see what had caused the sound. But when he knelt down to take a closer look at the dirt, he spotted something that made his mouth drop. The farmer discovered a strange gold ring that he'd never seen before in his life. After picking it up and giving it a quick once-over, he had no idea that he'd potentially just found an artifact that would inspire some of the greatest stories ever told. First he noted was that the ring was a signet, which are used to make seals. It was engraved with the Latin phrase Senecae vivus in Dei, which translates to Senecianus, live well in God. It weighed 12 grams, about the same weight as a modern man's gold wedding band, and was designed to fit only on a gloved finger. Though the farmer didn't know it, the ring's origins could be traced back to the 4th century, when a Roman man named Silvianus visited the Celtic temple of Nodens, a healing god. As he bathed there, the ring was stolen by an unknown thief. Silvianus was said to have thought the burglar was a man he'd seen inside the temple named Senecianus. In response to this alleged transgression, Silvianus supposedly cursed the man out of anger. After traveling some 100 miles away, it's believed that Senecianus abandoned the ring in the town of Silchester. With no knowledge of this legend, the farmer who found it decided to keep the gold he'd found, hoping that one day he could sell it and become rich. Eventually, the farmer sold the ring to a family living at The Vine, a 16th century country manor house outside of Hampshire, who'd taken a particular interest in its origins. After making the purchase, however, it remained in their library untouched. It was largely forgotten about until many years later. In 1888, when the then owner of the home, Challoner Chute, wrote about the item. Meanwhile, a team of archaeologists were conducting a dig at the site of the old Nodens temple when they suddenly uncovered a plaque called Defixio, or the Cursed Tablet. On it, the legend of Silvanus and Senecianus was detailed. Also inscribed on the tablet was a note which roughly translated to, "For the god Nodens, Silvanus has lost a ring and has donated 1/2 its worth to Nodens. Among those named Senecianus, permit no good health until its return to the temple of Nodens." Unable to verify the authenticity of this story, the tablet would sit in the estate's museum untouched for several decades. In 1928, however, a young archaeologist named Mortimer Wheeler and his wife Tessa were brought to the site to examine it. They worked at the site for 2 years before their investigation eventually led them to the Vine and the ring. The Wheelers sought the help in 2 Oxford University friends whom they hoped could offer some insight into the story surrounding the ring. Remarkably, those men were none other than philosopher and archaeologist R.G. Collingwood and Celtic literature and Anglo-Saxon professor J.R.R. Tolkien. Naturally, it's rumored that the 2 years Tolkien spent researching Silvanus, the thieving Senecianus, and their cursed ring inspired him to write The Hobbit and his Lord of the Rings trilogy. In 2013, the Vine ring was moved from the library and placed on permanent display at the manor alongside a copy of the tablet and a first edition of The Hobbit. Thanks to their love of Tolkien's work, the Vine family is happy to teach visitors about the history of the original One Ring. What an incredible find that farmer made. It makes you wonder what sort of other artifacts are sitting out there waiting to be discovered. Share this amazing discovery with your friends.